Basic types of speaking consist imitative, intensive, responsive, interactive, and extensive or monologue. Imitative at one and continuum of types of speaking performance is the ability to simply parrot back or imitate a word or phrase or possible a sentence. Intensive, it is a production of short stretches of oral language. Next, responsive include interaction and text comprehension, but at the somewhat limited level of very short conversations, standard greetings, and small talk, simple requests and comments, and the like. Next, interactive, which sometimes include multiple exchanges or multiple participants. Interaction can take two forms: transactional language or interpersonal exchange. Extensive or monologue. The tasks include speeches, oral presentations, and storytelling. Micro and macro skill of speaking. The micro skills refer to producing the smaller chunk of language, for example, phonemes, morphemes, word collocations, and phrasal units. The macro skill imply the speakers focus on the larger elements: discourse function, style cohesion, nonverbal communication, and strategic options. Designing assessment tasks for imitative speaking. The appropriate assessment tasks for this level are word repetition tasks and found past tasks. Word repetition tasks. Test taker here. Repeat after me. Beat, beat, but. Score for repetition task. 2 for acceptable pronunciations. 1 for comprehensible, partially correct pronunciation. And 0 silent, seriously incorrect pronunciation. Found past test, it refers to reading aloud, repeat sentence, say word, and answer the question. It involves.
Okay, here I will continue about our material, designing assessment tasks, intensive speaking. At the intensive level, test takers are prompted to produce short stretches of discourse no more than a sentence, throughout which they demonstrate linguistic ability at specific level of language. Many tasks are quick tasks in that they let test takers into a narrow band of possibilities. Okay, some suggestion intensive speaking or types of intensive speaking. Direct response tasks, read aloud tasks, sentence dialogue completion tasks, and oral questionnaires, and picture quiz tasks. Okay, the first direct response task. I have to describe what's in the picture direct response task, like tell me that you like rock music, and the student says, I like rock music. This is called intensive speaking because it's very much focused on language, and they are very directed and very preferred tasks. Okay, and next dialect completion. Uh, Here is an example of a dialect completion. Remember that the speaker responds speaking, not writing, okay? So they read, they help you, and they short answer speaking. For example, okay, may I help you? And the answer is, yeah, please. I think you understand, guys. Okay, and the next picture create task. Here is a picture create elicitation, and there the test taker see all of this picture and they have to use the comparative form, the compare this object. So the teacher would ask them to look and compare. An example, the black chair is bigger than the white chair, or the black chair softer than the white chair. As one, the apples are cheaper than the grapes, but the grapes are more expensive than the apples. And so far, these are ways that we could be assessing our students other than just a dialogue. And this is how the standardized test that you guys have studied in tactic use and examines that also how they work with these types of jury tasks. Okay, here's another picture create elicitation. Here are the test takers. Here the families at the airport going on the vacation, and it says where are they going for their vacation, and the teacher can't even greet them by pointing, and also the student has to answer. So they are going to Hawaii. What will he do in Hawaii? Pointing to their father, you can show them here. The father, he will play golf, and they can answer based on this picture. Picture prompts are a great way to get kids talking. I have done this with and like Bloodnik doors. The reading in our classes at schools, the students have to read, but the focus of the program was always communication. So I assess it orally, having students look at pictures from the text and tell me about what was going on the picture. Okay, and the next pictures you can see. I think you understand it. And the next picture again. Another one speaking and giving directions. Then you can pause if you want to look at this a little more, and all of these are example are in your text by Brown, and here very similar rubric to the one that we looked at for imitative. Okay, next, scoring intensive speaking. Comprehensible, captable target from comprehensible, partially correct target from, and silence or seriously incorrect target from. Opinions about paintings, a persuasive monologue, and direction on a map create a more complicated problem for scoring. More demands is placed on the test administrator to make a calculated judgment, in which case modified from scale such as the one suggested for evaluating interviews. Below could be used grammar, vocabulary, comprehension, fluency, pronunciation, and tasks. Okay, the next translation of limited stresses of a discourse. Translation is a part of our tradition in language teaching that we tend to discount or disdain, if only because our current pedagogical stance plays down its importance. Translation methods of teaching are centrally faced in era of direct approaches to creating communicative classroom. But we should remember that in countries where English is not the native of free-flowing language, translation is a meaningful communicative device in contexts where the English user is called on to to be an interpreter. Also, translation is our proper communication strategy for learners of a second language.
The next, we will discuss about designing assessment text, responsive speaking. Assessment of responsive text involves brief interactions with an interlocutor, differing from intensive text in the increased creativity given to the test taker and from interactive text by the somewhat limited length of utterances. So it is a brief description of responsive speaking. Responsive speaking consists of three types, namely the first, questions and answer, the second, giving instruction and direction, and the third, paraphrasing. The first, we will discuss about questions and answer. Questions and answer text can consist of one or two questions from an interviewer, or they can make up a portion of a whole battery of questions and prompts in an oral interview, or and this question and answer refers to a short interview between teacher and student or face to face. They can vary from simple questions like what is this called in English to complex questions like what are the steps government should take if I need to stem the rate of deforestation in tropical countries. So the students can respond about these questions. There are two examples of question and answer. The first, question giver gives questions, then the participants answer them. In the second example, the questions are given by participants to determine their ability to make questions to the questions giver. Giving instruction and directions we often encounter in daily routines. For example, how to apply the blender, how to answer them. In the second example, the questions are given by participants to determine their ability to make questions to the questions giver. Giving instruction and directions we often encounter in daily routines. For example, how to apply the blender, how to operate an appliance, how to put a bookshelf together, and something like that. Usually this uses instruction and direction as well, and usually using such a stimulus. The technique is simple. The administrator poses the problem and the test taker responds. This is the example giving instructions and directions. First, describe how to make a typical dish from your country, and the participants can answer these questions. The third, paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is another type of assessment text. The test takers read or hear the text or story, and then they can paraphrase the text or story it by using their own words. There are two sample texts. First, paraphrasing a story, and the second, paraphrasing upon message. They can read or hear the text. After that, the test taker can retell it but in their own words. The test of spoken English was an oral test to measure the ability of non-native English speakers to communicate effectively. Here are 11 content specifications for the TSA represent the discourse and pragmatic context to find out the extent of their speaking skills. This is the example of the test of spoken English. You can see and read.
Okay, now is about designing assessment tasks, interactive speaking. Interactive tasks are what some would describe as interpersonal, while the final category includes more transactional speech events. It includes interview, role play, discussion, and games. First, interview. Interview is when a test administrator and a test taker sit down in a direct face-to-face exchange and proceed through a protocol of questions and directives. Michael Canale mentioned 4 stages to make our test taker perform at their best if they are led through these stages. The stages are: the first is warm up, the second is level check, the third is probe, and the last is wind down. Okay, here are the details of every stages that is mentioned before by Michael Canale. You guys can pause the video to read it by yourself. Then there are 4 components that will make an oral interview success. The first component is practicality, the second component is validity, the third component is bias for best performance, and the last is the reliability. Okay, now let's move to the next task of interactive speaking. It is role play. Role playing is a popular pedagogical activity in communicative language teaching classes. As an assessment device, role play opens some windows of opportunity for test takers to use discourse that might otherwise be difficult to elicit. Next is discussion and conversation. Discussions may be especially appropriate tests through which to elicit and observe such abilities as A. Topic nomination, maintenance, and termination. B. Attention getting, interrupting, floor holding, control. C. Clarifying, questionings, paraphrasing, and the others. You can read it by yourself too. The last task of interactive speaking is games. There is a game called Tinker Toy Game. It is a game that is used to assess our test taker ability in speaking. Actually, I'm not really understand, so I'm sorry before because I cannot give more explanation or details about this game.
In here, I am explanation about oral proficiency interview or UPI. The best known oral interview format is one that has gone through considerable metamorphosis over the last half century. An oral proficiency interview or UP, original known as the Virgin Service Institute FSI test. The UPI is the result of the historical progression of revision under auspices of several agencies, including the Educational Testing Service and the American Council on the Virgin Languages or ACTFL. And here summary ACTFL. First, superior. Superior level speakers are characterized by the ability to participate fully and effectively in the conversation in formal and informal settings on topics related to practical needs and area of professional and or scholarly interest, and etc. Second, advantage. Advantage level speakers are characterized by the ability to participate actively in conversation in most informal and some formal settings on the topics of personal and public interest, and etc. Third, intermediate. Intermediate level speakers are characterized by the ability to participate in simple direct conversation on generally predictable topics related to daily activity and personal information, and etc. And then novice. Novice level seekers are characterized by the ability to respond to simple questions on the most common feature of daily life, and etc. In here is a summary of the HTML UPI procedure, objective, primary market, type, response mode, specification, time allocation, internet access. And there is already an examination of the answer here. Next, designing assessment extensive speaking. And here it is our presentation. In the academic as professional areas, it was not uncommon to be called on the present report, prepare a marketing plan, a sales a design of the new product or the method, a summary of oral assessment, teaching techniques, while report of incomplete without some consideration of extensive speaking text, and listen about oral presentation checklists in here. Picture quiz storytelling in here. Listen and read relating a story, new event. And translation of extended purpose. And you can also listen the read, for example, the exercise. And then exercise. And then and then. And for you further reading in this and finally ability to respond to simple questions on the most common feature of daily life, and etc. In here is a summary of the HTML UPI procedure, objective, primary market, type, response mode, specification, time allocation, internet access. And there is already an examination of the answer here. Next, designing assessment extensive speaking. And here it is oral presentation. In the academic as professional areas, it was not uncommon to be called on the present report prepare a marketing plan, a sales idea, a design of the new product, or the method, a summary of oral assessment, teaching techniques, while 3/4 of income incomplete without some consideration of extensive speaking text. And listen about oral presentation checklists in here. Picture quick storytelling in here. Listen and read. Relating a story, new event. And translation of extended purpose. And you can also listen to read and read, for example, the exercise. And then exercise. And then and then. And then. And for you further reading in this and finally